in those moments in the hospital, I was struggling. And this really becomes that defining moment when I talk about the victor versus victim mindset that exists out there, because there's a lot of us that get hurt and or something bad happens to us and we become the victim. You know, a sometimes we look for other people to blame. Sometimes we look for other things to blame. But no matter what, we're looking for somebody to come save us. And the reality is, the only person that's ever going to save you, it starts with you. I could send an entire cavalry to come get you, but if you're not willing to save yourself and get up and drive forward, it doesn't matter. You'll probably climb right back on that X and feel sorry for yourself. So I was struggling, laying in that hospital bed. The doctors were inundating me with all this negative information. They were telling me they were thinking about amputating my arm, no use of my left hand at that time, massive nerve damage, obviously mangled face. And I had some people come into the room talking about what a shame, what a pity. We send these young men and women off to war and they come back broken and battered. They'll never be the same. And then they left. And I remember laying in that bed thinking to myself, like, is that me? Is that who I'm going to be? Am I going to be like Forrest Gump in the beginning, or like Lieutenant Dan in the beginning of Forrest Gump? You know, the cliche, stereotypical broken combat veteran who is a drug addict and an alcoholic and not a productive member of society. You know, hookers and booze, Lieutenant Dan, versus the end of Forrest Gump when he really had found himself. And it was in that moment that I was like, not only no, but fuck no, man. Like, you know the formula. The formula, you lead yourself, you lead others, you lead always. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. Yeah, you had a few days to feel sorry for yourself. It's time to drive forward. And when my wife came back into the room, I couldn't talk because I was, wired shut and trached. But I wrote out this sign, and it said, "Attention to all who enter here. If you're coming in this room with sadness or sorrow, don't bother. The wounds I received, I got in a job that I love, doing it for people that I love, defending the freedom of a country that I deeply love. I will make a full recovery. And when it's full, that's the absolute utmost physically I have the ability to recover. I'm going to push that about 20% further through sheer mental tenacity. This room you're about to enter is a room of fun, optimism, and intense rapid regrowth. If you are not prepared for that, go elsewhere." And we signed it to management. A teammate took his trident and tacked it into the sign a couple days later, and it ended up going viral. It was all over the national news. Blogs were written about it. Um, it ended up being featured in documentaries. It earned me an invitation to the White House to meet President Bush. It's been written about in multiple books. Secretary Robert Gates wrote about it in his books. First Lady Michelle Obama wrote about it not once in her book. Sent me a handwritten note on the how much it inspired her. But what I tell people about that sign, coming full circle back to the victor not victim mindset, is it doesn't matter what happens to you in this life, no matter what bad thing that comes along, no matter how bad you get knocked down, as long as you are still mentally capable, as long as this still works, you have a fucking choice. You have the ability to choose what you're going to do with your life. And in that moment in that hospital bed, I chose to get up and drive forward. That became the pinnacle moment of everything for me. Um, I never was able to operate again, and I try and tell people that sometimes um, the outcome isn't always. You're not going to broken relationships, broken bodies, failed marriages, broken businesses. Sometimes you can't repair those things, but you can choose to drive forward and create a new beginning. Out of every the end moment, if you're willing, there's a new beginning. You have the power and you can choose to do that. And that's what that sign represents.